What's going on, growers? It's James Prigioni coming to you live from Jersey. When planting seeds, especially in wood chips, there's a few conditions that we need to set up correctly if we want to get healthy plants. If we don't set these up correctly, that can give us actually smaller harvests. So today I want to share with you a homemade tool that we can make that'll get us a step closer to bigger, healthier harvests. Let's go! Some of the plants in the food forest are starting to wake up, like this rhubarb here. Also this lemon balm over here. And soon we'll be able to do a full food forest tour. Can't wait to bring you along for that. An early spring one, and then we'll continue doing that as the weeks go on. Strawberries are waking up too. I've got the seedlings outside because it's a beautiful day. But today we're going to be talking about direct seeding in areas where there's wood chips as well. And if you watch the Back to Eden film with Paul Gauci, you'll notice he doesn't just directly seed into wood chips. You don't want to just go out here and throw your seeds into the wood chips because these are just a mulch. They're not an actual growing medium. So I'm going to show you how Paul does it actually, and I'm not sure if he shows it in the film, but I know the L to Survive YouTube channel has more in-depth stuff with Paul. So this is going to be kind of the way Paul Gauci does it. He's been doing it for a long time, and this is the tool he actually uses. So we're going to be able to make this tool pretty simply. You don't need a lot of carpentry skills or anything. That's why I wanted to bring everyone along, because I think it's something that's it's a good timing right now as we're getting ready to plan a lot of stuff out, and it's also fun to do. So let's get going. One of the many things I love about gardening is it's not just doing the same task over and over. Also, there's so much opportunity to incorporate other skills and to learn other skills and bring them into the garden. To build things like, say, this greenhouse here. I remember the first greenhouse that I built, if you guys might remember, it was just terrible. I mean, it worked kind of, but it was nothing like this new one. I'm not saying that this new one is anything special, but what I'm saying is there's been progression. And a lot of this progression and the development of skills that I've had has come as a result of getting into gardening and wanting to learn how to do different things. So I think that's part of it, and one of the reasons I love gardening is there's always something else to learn, there's always something else to share, and there's always something to get better at. So if you guys have some kind of task or you guys think I can work on something in the garden, hit it down in the comments, or even with the video. That's something I love about YouTube too. I'm constantly working, trying to get better skills, better editing skills, better video skills, and just incorporate it all together to have more fun with everything about it. Tuck hasn't been in the videos much recently because this time of year, he really isn't allowed in the garden. I've got to keep him fenced out because he gets so excited and tramples on some of the young seeds. So once they get bigger and things are planted out there, he'll be allowed in, he'll be eating, and we'll be just enjoying ourselves together. So what we're going to be building is something for sifting our soil. So what we have here is 1/4 inch mesh or 1/4 inch wire, and we're going to be just building this. It's going to be very simple, but it's going to be important when planting our seeds, especially directly and especially in wood chips, because we can't just throw the seeds in the wood chips like I said, and we also just don't want big chunks of things when we're planting seeds, especially things like lettuce. If you have big chunks of wood chips and stuff over top your lettuce, it's going to inhibit the sprouting. We don't want that to happen. There's not a lot of things we need. We need this 1/4 inch mesh. We need a 2x4, which we've got right here. I just got something to cut it with. You don't have to use a drop saw like this if you don't have one. You can just use a regular handsaw and some nails. So it's not going to be anything incredible, but it's going to be important and going to be valuable to actually aid, like I said, in better health for plants, which will lead only to better harvests. Right, boy? The size of the soil sifter that you're going to make is going to be dependent on a few things. One of them is what you're going to shake it into. So I'm going to make it basically so it fits over this. I can shake it right into the tote, and I'll also put this tote inside of a wheelbarrow, so anything extra goes in the sides into the wheelbarrow. So I've got this piece of cloth here. It's a good fit. This hardware cloth, again 1/4 inch. It's a good fit for the size of this. So I'm just going to basically match my wood to this, and you don't really have to do that much measuring, because what you're going to want is 2 pieces of the same size and then 2 other pieces of the same size. So first I'm just going to cut this down in half to a decent length so I can work with it easier. I've got some old staples in here because this is actually a piece of the old greenhouse, so we're recycling the wood as much as we can. I watch an old carpenter, Larry Hahn, on YouTube, amazing at framing houses and stuff, and he said, the less you have to measure things, the better off it is, the less mistakes you're going to make.
10,000 words swirl around my head, 10 million more in books written beneath my bed.
Which I'll just bump this up again. And then I got to factor in the 1.5 inch on both sides because I'm going to put these pieces on the inside of the wood.
I wrote over read them all when searching in the
Looks like I'll probably need one more small piece of wood. Looks like it's pretty close in length too. Yeah, it's about right there, so I'll just cut another piece equal to this. And again, I'm just using this and bumping it up. And if I didn't do this and you need to measure, I would just measure the inside and the long side, and then just cut that wood, basically the same size as that. Perfect, so I'm done with the saw now. Okay, I got all the wood cut. Now we're just gonna make a simple box here. Nothing special. I'm gonna screw it together with just some deck screws.
And everyone around me shakes their head in disbelief. It says I'm too caught up.
There we go, good enough for gardening. And one thing I want to mention is sometimes some pieces of wood are wider than the others, so you want to make sure one side is completely flat. That flat side is what we're going to nail the hardware cloth to. This way it's like all level, you don't have gaps in the back. Again, doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. Now, I'm going to use a hammer and a nail. These nails are like roofing nails, so they've got a decently sized head on them. And we're just going to nail this hardware cloth right to the bottom of it. Again, the flattest side that we have. Looks like basically a perfect fit, which is always convenient. I'm not going to have to cut much. I could use screws, but I suggest using nails just because they're going to have a flatter head at the bottom, so it's not going to leave as much of a gap. Anything extra, I'll just, if there's anything, I have a tiny bit to cut at the bottom here. I'll just cut that.
They say young is good and old is fine and truth is cool, but all that matters is you have your good times.
I'm going to start in one of the corners this side here and then work my way this way. This way it's relatively tight. If you want, you could even cut a thin strip of wood and nail it to the bottom. This way when you're holding it, there's nothing pricking up at you. But I'm just going to make sure I wear gloves, and then I'll go through and knock those pieces down where they might be sticking up.
But their good times come with prices, and I can't believe it when I hear the jokes they make. At anyone's expense except their own. Would they laugh if they knew who paid?
Looks like I got about a couple rows that I'm going to cut off here, so I'm going to do that before I nail it down, so I can just lift it up and cut it. Let me grab the snips.
Ain't it like most people? I'm no different. We love to talk on things we don't know about.
The camera stopped recording on me, so I might have missed some of that, but I think you guys got the gist of it. I just went around and nailed everything up and then cut a little bit here to make it all even. So looks good, simple enough. Now that it's all finished, we will pick up the tote, make sure it fits decently. Pretty nice. I like what I see here. Gonna be great for shaking it out. And we'll actually put it to use a little bit and then plant maybe some carrots into the garden. I think that'll be fun if we have time. Before we try out our new sifting tool, I wanted to talk about something, and it had to do with Paul Gauci. You'll notice when he grows his annuals, he doesn't just grow those directly into wood chips. What he actually does is he goes to his chicken pen and he gets the compost from there and then sifts it in a 1/4 inch sifter. So he takes all his annuals, his grass clippings, anything extra, and throws it into the chicken pen. The chickens go in and process that. They eat it, they break it down, and then he takes it back out, like I said, sifts it in a 1/4 inch sifter, then puts that into his garden. So first we're gonna sift some black leaf mulch that I got locally, because it has a lot of big sticks and some rocks and stuff in it that could prohibit some of your small seeds from sprouting. And then also, I'm going to show you how to use it in the garden with wood chips. So if there's a location where you want to plant things again like lettuce, then I like to pull back the wood chips and then sift some of the soil and then use that back, because you'll notice when you pull back some wood chips, sometimes the soil gets mixed with the wood chips. We don't want that. We just want just soil or just wood chips. Now I'm going to bring this sifter into the food forest and we'll get some carrots planted. We'll pull the wood chips back first. I already planted a couple rows of carrots in the new food forest, so I'm going to plant a few in here. And carrots are actually a great companion for tomatoes. There's a book I shared a number of times with you guys, Carrots Love Tomatoes. So we'll put a row of carrots in here, let them get a little bigger, and then plant kind of tomatoes around the base of them. So first, again, I'll just get all these wood chips pulled back. I figure I'd do one right here and have tomatoes on either side.
Ain't it like most people? I'm no different. We love to talk on things we don't know about.
Tuck ended up sneaking in the garden. I had to let him come in for a little while. As long as he doesn't start digging up some stuff, then I think we'll be okay. You can see I still have a big pile I still need to get rid of, but I wanted to share this video and get some more stuff planted. This isn't going to be a huge row, but it'll be nice to have these carrots between. And you'll notice there's a weed coming up right here. Just one of them, because we don't have the wood chips super thick. That's a perennial weed that likes to come back a lot. That's the wild violet. And people ask how thick to put the wood chips. It really depends on your location. Once you've got all the grass and annuals killed out like I do, it doesn't have to be super thick. Plus I've had wood chips in here for a long time. But you'll notice once I got down to this layer, we've got some wood chips and things mixed into the soil. So that would be okay if we were just transplanting tomatoes in, if we dug deep enough and put them into the dirt. But what we want to do is make sure that we sift some of this stuff so that it doesn't inhibit any of our lettuces or carrots or anything like that from popping up. So I may have to pull a little more back, and then I'm just going to kind of shovel it, sift it, and just kind of move down the line. So one of the most important parts is that we're planting again in the dirt, not in the wood chips. That's why we're pulling this back. But you'll notice where the wood chips and the dirt meet, there's a lot of good, healthy, quality soil right there. So we don't want to lose that. So we're just going to have to sift it. And you notice a few roots in here. These aren't from my fruit trees. These are actually from the mulberry trees that are in the chicken pen, and they're huge. This isn't going to really affect them or hurt them. So I'll pull back a considerable amount here. Once I start pulling back, get to a certain depth, the worms start showing up. I don't want to hurt that guy, but the worms love that moisture content. They love having the wood chips and all the life in there. Now I'm at soil level right here, and I'll just take everything that I moved back, shovel that in, and then sift it. So before I continue going, I wanted to show you what it looks like before and after. So after is this stuff over here. You can see the size of it. Kind of hard to move around a little because we've got some large wood chips in there. After we've sifted it, look at that. Nice, light, healthy, beautiful soil. So this is the same sandy soil that I'll show you in a little while in the new food forest. But this is what happens when you have the wood chip down for a number of years. So you can see this is going to be a lot easier for carrots and stuff to pop up. And if you're not in a location where I am right now, where the soil's good and light, pretty deep, I can stick my finger down easily. If you've got tough soil and you're going to be planting carrots, you want to make sure you're digging that up a little bit. So first you're going to pull the wood chips back, then all the wood chips back. Then you're going to loosen the soil up a little bit, add some compost to soften it if you can. Then after, you'll be able to sift some of the wood chip soil mix and get this beautiful, beautiful texture, great for popping seeds.
And after we are through 10 years of making this to be the most glorious debut, I come back home without my things, 'cause the clothes I wore out there I will not wear around you.
Some of you may have seen the video last fall where I was planting carrots with this Bill Mollison board technique. So that's how I'm gonna do it again. Just wanna make sure I got a good length. That's perfect, it looks like. Make sure the soil is relatively level so there's not any high spots. Oh, that feels good. That's good stuff. Pretty good. The board is bent a little, but we'll put some a brick on top of it to hold it down. When you're planting, the most important thing is always preparation. I'm going to plant 1 row of carrots. It's a Over the Rainbow mix by Fedco. So it's gonna be a number of different varieties in here. And all I'm gonna do is broadcast the carrots on the top. I'll actually water it in first, then broadcast the carrots on the top, and then just water that, and then put the board over top of that. Then in about 2 weeks or so, I'm gonna come out. I think it usually takes about 2 to 3 weeks to germinate. I'm gonna come out about 2 weeks and check under the board every day, or even pull it off after 2 weeks. What the board's gonna do is make sure everything stays relatively moist and try to get a better germination rate. And even though they're gonna be timed a little different probably because of different varieties, but that's what we're gonna do. Another thing you might notice is how far I pulled back the wood chips to just put 1 row of carrots in. And the reason for that is sometimes the wood chips will blow over into the spot. Not as big of a deal with the board, but they'll blow over onto your seedlings and prevent that from coming up. But I basically just needed it wide enough so that I could fit the board down. I'm actually gonna, before I finish doing this, I'm gonna water this section down, and then I'll finish planting the carrots. Let's get this all watered down. I watered it a little, but the camera turned off on me again, so. Some of you may be noticing like the quality of the soil and you're thinking, oh, I wish I can get that. But the only way to get soil that good is to put the work in now so you can have it in the future. It's kind of like what they say about the best time to plant a tree is 10 years ago. The best time to start working on your soil is probably 10, 15, 30 years ago too. But today is better than tomorrow or next week or any time in the future.
And they'll be quick to point out our shortcomings, how the experts all have had their doubts. Ain't it like most people, I'm no different. Love to talk on things we don't know about. Ain't it like most people, I'm no different. Love to talk on things we don't know about. Ain't it like most people, I'm no different. Love to talk on things we don't know about. Ain't it like most people, I'm no different. We love to talk on things we don't know about.
There we go. Another row of carrots planted. Perfect setup for tomatoes on each side, that lovely companion. And we made sure that we're not going to really inhibit any of the sprouting by getting all that big stuff out. I think it was a great success, and I love that little one. I was using the big sifter and that thing was getting heavy, so this little one is nice. Makes it kind of light and doesn't strain your back as much. Here's a section where I have 2 rows of carrots in the new food forest. As you can see, the soil is much sandier over here. I've only had the wood chips down for a year and my soil is very sandy as it is, but I still pulled back the wood chips and made sure I sifted that. There are some little carrots coming up. Tiny carrots there. I'll get a zoom for you. Right there you can see a couple ones bending, about to pop up. I just have to make sure I keep this wet, but looks like we got decent germination. I did a few different varieties here as well. That's today's video, growers. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. We did a little gardening today, a little carpentry, but most of all, I had a lot of fun. I know Tuck had fun when I let him in the garden too. If you guys enjoyed this video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share it with your friends. Let us know down in the comment section if you enjoyed it, if there's something else you want to see, and if you're excited, as I am, for the food forest to be waking up, the Prigioni apple, all the peaches. It's that time of year, guys. See you in the next one. James Prigioni and Tuck, we out.